Hey guys, Barry Casson here again. Today is all about television news production from the perspective of the reporter and the camera person. Okay, I think you'll enjoy this. A lot of people on the inside, everybody knows this. People on the outside of the industry sometimes don't know this. This will explain clearly how it's all put together. All right. Now, just before we go there, some of you know I have a background in drumming, toured Europe with some big stars, and still teach drums at Tempo Train. That was part one of my life, right? Um, yeah, that's if you know anybody interested in drawing, send it to me at Tempo Trend. The second part of my life was when I got into motion pictures. Okay, I studied film in Hollywood, came back to Victoria, created Vancouver Island's first training facility, motion picture training facility, and had a production company. There were 60 films and videos, blah blah blah. Okay, so just so we got that out of the way, I think I have some knowledge on this, and I hope you'll appreciate it. Today will be a good learning thing for you. Okay. So here we go. So let's say I'm the camera person, which I am. I did that for 9 years. So now I'm going into work. Okay. I've got to get into work. I've got to get my truck and all my gear and get everything loaded up. I've got my camera in there. I've got all my lights in there. Everything I need. Tripods are all there, right? So I go to the assignment desk. That's the person in news who assigns the stories for the day. So the assignment person would grab a reporter and say, okay, Shirley, or whatever your name might be, this is the story we're going to start off with. And you may do 2 or 3 stories in a day, and that's about it. But let's say we're doing story one. So Shirley knows what it is we're doing. She links up with maybe me or another camera person. We get into the truck, we head to the gig, to the story, right? We get there, we introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Barry, this is Shirley, blah, blah. And I start looking for a place to set up the camera, make it look good. So, I mean, because you want the subject to look good. I might bring in a light or two, to light them up, make it look, and we set up the show, right? So now I've got my camera behind the reporter, showing and on the subject. All right. Now this is called a 1.5, and it looks something like this, if you can see this, right? So there's a reporter, and my camera's behind the reporter on the subject. It's called a 1.5 in television, right? So I'm all set up to go. The reporter now takes the microphone, and she's got it in front of her. You usually don't see this because you're seeing the subject, and she's blocking the microphone a little bit, right? So she's gotten ready to go. I've done an audio test. We know where the volume is good, and away we go. She asks the question. The subject now starts to give the answers to the question, right? Blah 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 blah, and then we're just shooting away. Now this whole bit could take 5, 10, 15 minutes. It could be quite a bit of story, but we only need a couple of minutes because we're shooting news here, right? And we can't have 15 minutes. We just want a 2-minute thing. So this is what we do the whole thing. We got the entire story, 15 minutes. We stop. At this point, we might talk a little cribbage back and forth, maybe have a cup of tea or something. Now I take that camera and I move from around the back of the reporter to the back of the subject with the camera now focused on the reporter, right? Now at this point, we pick up the reaction shots, cutaway, in television, in motion pictures, they call cutaways, reactions, inserts, kind of thing. We're going to call them for this part, we'll just call them reactions, okay? So now the camera's on the reporter, and I'm sitting there, I say, okay, action. So now the reporter gives us the nodders. These are the reactions to the subject. So now she's going, well, that's all right. So we need those for editing. We need them for editing. To make it even slicker, we can do what is sometimes called a re-ask, where the reporter has the questions written down, and now she's going to ask those questions so that we can pop them in for editing and look like we have 2 cameras working, right? So she would maybe, I'm on her now and she's ready, and she'll give it this. You remember what time you first heard the explosion? Cut. Second question. You say when you got outside, your neighbors were already on the street? Cut. Tell us about the incident with the dog. Cut. So now we have not only the reporters, the subjects answers to everything, to what's going on, but we have reactions from the reporter. Now we get back to the studio, to the editing, right? Now let's say the reporter wants the first 45 seconds of this story And then when the subject talks from 45 seconds to a minute and a half, there's nothing there that the reporter wants. But if from a minute and a half on, there's another section she wants. You see how it goes together? Now, this is the technical problem you can sometimes have. If the last frame of the first 30 seconds, and let's say I'm the subject, okay, and I finish talking, here's the last frame of the first 30 seconds of the story. My head is right here on the frame. Boom. Now she picks it up at a minute and a half in to me starting another section where I'm talking right now. The chances are that what could happen is my head would be here at the end of the last frame of 30 seconds, and the first frame of a minute and a half, I've moved and my head's like this. See? We put both of those two frames together, we get what we call a jump cut. And a jump cut is like this. If you're watching, all of a sudden, you see my head do this or do that. We call a jump cut, right? Now, today, sometimes they're using, technology-wise, they're using some very quick dissolves to get around that. But if you haven't got that facility, you don't want the audience to see that jump. So what we do at this point, the editor can simply cut to the reporter doing all this stuff, which we're just saying, right? See that? Or it could, it just works so smooth that you don't even think about it, right? It's just there's question, there's the answer, blah, blah, and it all goes together really smooth. So that's how they get around that. You understand how that works now? It's just a simple process because you never see more than one reporter and one cameraman together, a camera person, right? You just don't see two cameras. Yeah, in documentary stuff, you will, and maybe there's a third person, a producer, but generally news hasn't got time for two cameras. They just have one. And that's how it goes together. It always baffles me that nobody ever watches that and goes, wait a minute, what is that camera guy? Is he the flash? How did he get from here to here? Nobody ever asks a question, right? Funny. Anyway, that's how it goes together. Next time, we're going to talk a little bit about the 180-degree line, which is kind of fun too, and a lot of other aspects of how motion picture. We'll get more into actual movie making, not television news, and there's a lot of things there too. I think you'll enjoy this stuff. I'm going to have a regular bunch of them. If you're interested, this is my book, The Video Bible. It's on my website. It's got a lot of stuff in there about what I'm talking about. You might enjoy reading it. Just go to my website, grab a copy. And I hope you've enjoyed this. It's kind of fun talking about it. I used to travel around BC talking on all kinds of things, aspects of, how to attract the film industry to your community and how to get into film and stuff like that. Always found it fascinating because people just enjoy this stuff. Okay. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next time, I'll have more stuff on this subject matter. I thank you for watching. It's been fun. Right. Bye-bye.